Hey guys, Jeff here with Pond the Plate, out here with Zing, Mark, and my buddy Billy Genay with Billy Guide Services. Going out today to do a little spoonbill fishing. But before we get started on that, I want to sit here and talk with Billy a little bit about what we're going to do, how we're going to do it, and just who he is. So Billy, tell me a little bit about what you offer, who you are, what you do.
Bill Genay, primarily fish for spoonbill, paddle fish from the middle of October till about the end of April, 1st of May. Like to fish for the paddle fish, catching 35 to whatever pound fish throughout the year, throughout the winter.
So. Great. So tell me a little bit about what the service is. I mean, for a guy that wants to come out and fish with you, what does that look like?
I supply everything as far as to catch the fish, fillet and bag your catch, supply the rods, everything to catch the fish. Got a heater in the boat for the cold days. I think it's 22 degrees a day with 20-mile-an-hour winds. So
comfortable.
Yeah, the heat was well needed on a day like today. Got a 2017 Sea Art Pro Cat 240, 24-foot boat, full enclosure, keeps the wind off of us, makes it pretty comfortable to fish, handles the rough water.
We saw that.
Well. Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, pretty nasty out there.
We were hitting some probably 4-foot swells out there today.
Yeah, it was a little pucker factor for sure.
There was definitely some pucker going on from this guy. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah, the rods, we're using 8-foot meat.
Well, before we go to the rods, Billy, let's finish talking about. So if a guy wants to come out and fish with you, is it $100, $500?
Yeah.
What do you charge, and what do you get in return for that?
Pretty much full service is $300 for 1 or 2 people, $150 a person, up to 6 people. I can take 6 people on the boat. Basically, I do everything. You just come, especially in the trolling season, you'll sit in the seats. I'll put the rods out, the rod will go down, I'll hand you the rod, you get to fight the fish in and go from there. Pretty much turnkey operation, I believe.
Yeah.
On like I said, fillet and bag your catch, just everything,
So what's the best way for people to get a hold of you, Billy?
Facebook, Billy's Guide Service, LLC, or my phone number is 918-231-7600. Probably the easiest way. Call or text, and I'll usually get back within the hour.
Which, by the way, I do have to tell you, I love the message on your phone. If we don't get a hold of him, he's probably out fishing, y'all.
Right.
Great phone message for a fishing guy,
Absolutely, yeah.
If you're not out there fishing, we might have something to worry about, man.
Yeah. Well, in the wintertime, and the spoonbill keeps us, keeps me real busy from probably October starts to get some business, but November through really, as later it goes and the fish start to move up to spawn, or about March is probably my busiest, and April, towards the middle of the 3rd week in April.
All right.
Real good.
So tell me a little bit about what you know about these fish. I mean, they're a pretty interesting fish. They're prehistoric.
Exactly. Yeah, they date back to about 50 million years before the dinosaur, I believe. So it's pretty old fish. Actually, they've been in the river system in the Midwest before the dinosaur. That the fossils date it back before that. They're in the Grand Neosho River chain. They're in the Arkansas River chain in Oklahoma. They started stocking them, I believe, in the early 90s. And then, in fact, up on Grand, around Miami, they've got the Paddlefish Research Center, where I think they get about 4,000 to 5,000 fish a year they get them from fishermen that turn the fish in. They'll come down the river and load them in the boat. They'll get them for the caviar. It's the second most sought after caviar in the world.
And I was just going to say, there's something else really great about this fish, y'all. Not only is it a whole lot of fun to catch, they're big fish, they fight hard, they're a great time, but they really are sought after for that caviar.
Absolutely.
Aren't they?
Yeah. There was a decline, I guess, in the 60s and 70s when a lot of the lakes were built, the dams were built, kept them from going up and reaching where they spawn at. Had a big problem with the poachers coming down and catching a lot of the paddlefish and just getting them for the eggs or the roe and just leaving the carcasses, float in the water. So
now, and I believe from a chef standpoint, I believe the paddlefish caviar became a big thing because the sturgeon population took such a hit. And so that's what drove the prices up on the sturgeon. And so people were looking for an alternative to the sturgeon fish that was a little more sustainable, if you will, at the time.
Exactly.
And that's where the paddlefish caviar came in.
Yeah, and some of these fish will have 15, 20 pounds of eggs. I guess average 10 to 15. I've weighed them a time or two, but I'm sure the bigger fish will have 20
Even
and
more
30
than
pounds.
that.
Exactly,
Yeah.
of the eggs, you know. Generally, we don't, I mean, we'll keep a fish, whatever, but I don't remember cleaning too many fish over 65 pounds, you know. We usually try to maybe influence the customer to turn that one back, you know, anything over about 55 pounds or something generally, turn them back so they can spawn and, you know, have more fish
Keep
in
the
there.
population
Absolutely,
going.
yeah.
And that's just good fishermanship
Sure.
right there. You know,
Yeah.
put the bigger guys back, get your picture,
Yeah.
and catch and release, guys.
Yeah, nothing wrong with catching the females if that's what you want. Don't get me wrong. We have a really good population in them. I think they said the population is increased in the last. I know they have. It's increased in the last 15 years.
Which is
Yeah,
great.
absolutely.
And that's just responsible fishermen doing the right thing and helping that species
Yeah, and
out.
it helps. You know, we're only allowed 2 fish per year, 1 fish in a day. So with our limits like that, we use a barbless hook so we can catch and release. So that makes it nice. And a lot of times these fish don't even bleed; they're just barely hooked, and everything. 100% of the fish that we've let go have swam off. So that's a great thing. Even when we get up the river, I haven't seen but maybe 3 or 4 fish even floating in the years that I've done it, where, you know, and they may have died coming through the dam or something like that. So,
Yeah.
yeah. If not,
So tell me a little bit about the fish and the water conditions. What are they looking for? What do they like?
They're filter feeders, so they're feeding on zooplankton. So they're just you see them a lot around the shad because they're eating the same thing as the shad. You know, so just wherever the plankton is in their food. They from reading on it, they don't really school up, but boy, you sure do find them in schools. But they're just the biologist tells me they're just there all eating the same food.
thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. So do they like deeper water, colder water? What's their preference in that?
This time of year, they'll be in deeper water because the water's cold. We're down here probably 2/3 of the way down the lake, and you know, looking for the fish right now and catching the fish. As the water warms, it gets up around the 50, 55, 60 degrees is when they'll be way up the river and they'll be looking to spawn. They'll spawn on the gravel bars and the sandy banks and so on and so forth.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
They spawn about 6 to 10 years old. The males will spawn younger than the females will.
So guys, he's willing. Billy here is willing to share some G14 classified information with us, and I'm gonna grab one of these here real quick, just so you can see what it looks like all lined up. And we're gonna let Mr. Genay here tell us a little bit about these rigs that he uses to go snagging for these things. So why don't you talk a little bit about what rods you're using, what reels, and
yeah, this is an 8-foot meat hunter. They're made here in Tulsa. He even puts my name on them. Billy's Guide Service on here. Been doing that for years. I've particularly used the Penn Warfare reel. Got to have a line counter when we're working with the dipsy divers, in my opinion. When we first started doing it, we would use, hand me those weights right over there, Jeff. I'll even back it up a little bit. A couple of them. Oh, stand there. Anyway, we used to have, they're around here somewhere.
One right there.
Anyway,
That's where your hand was.
oh no, the weight.
Yeah, it's
Oh.
the weight.
Oh, gotcha. I didn't see it. So we used to use 3 of these weights, 3 pounds of weight to troll through the water. And my buddy Steve Willis is what turned me on to the divers. We used to use a smaller diver. I use the biggest diver they got. I don't, probably the cat's out of the bag now. They get a lot less line to get down to the depth that we need to get. We catch the suspended fish a lot better with the diver. This here is engaged, and what happens when you're going through the water, it'll go down just like a crankbait or a bill on a crankbait and go down, and the depth is achieved by the diameter of the line, the speed that you're trolling, and how much line that you have out. These divers too will turn. Here's the center of the diver, the center of the diver, the center of the weight. I've got this turned about 2/3 to the left here. So when it's on the left, it'll go on that side of the boat and it'll give a little bit of weight and it'll kick the diver out on the outside.
so it almost functions kind of like a planer board too.
Absolutely,
in that
yeah.
aspect.
Exactly, and they'll get it out. I think they work better even in the deeper water for sure, and they really work. They really shine when you get in the shallower water because the fish are kind of get a little boat shy, and when you're coming through, you get out. So I'll catch probably 85 to 90% always have a fish on my outside divers versus the inside.
Okay. Now, what's I mean, I saw you put the little latch in.
Okay.
So I mean, let's talk about what that does. I mean, what's the point of that?
Okay. The point of this is right now it's engaged, and if you're trying, so it'll bring it down to the depth. So if we get a fish on this, 99% of the time this comes out, and then now it's real easy to reel in. It doesn't have any more. It doesn't act like a crankbait and pull down. So when we get a fish on one of the lines, every now and then we'll get 2 fish on, but the majority of the time we're getting 1 fish on. If we have 4 lines out like we're going to today, we'll break the other ones over. And what I mean by that is it's engaged now. Put your thumb on the spool there, pop it, give it a good snap, and then you can reel it in really fast. So that really makes it nice, instead of, if you can't pop it, or if you get a shad on here, a little fish, you're just cranking and cranking. It takes a long time to get in.
Yeah.
Just wear you down.
Yeah. So Billy was going to share with us how if y'all can see on this setup here, it's quite a little it's quite a little setup on how he has these hooks and everything set up. So Billy was going to take a second and show us how he ties that up.
I like to use this cord. It's like 250-pound test. One, when we get up the river, it'll start taking a lot of beating. You'll be down on the bottom a little bit more. The fish are on the bottom. Instead of just using the braid that I use, a 100-pound test braid. The cord, I like to use it because it takes more of a beating. Then when you go straight to the braid too, the braid will get underneath this hook, and it just gives you a few seconds, sometimes a minute or two, to get out. So the trot line cord works a lot better. But I usually have these little riggings already made like we have here, and I'll go anywhere from 18 inches to 2 feet or what have you. But to where I put my hook above the diver. I'll put the line in like this, wrap it a few times, go around the hook, pull it up. Usually it is on a pole, so it's a little bit easier. Come in here, just give it a little twist, pull it down like that. Got a straight hook. That's tied onto your fishing pole.
And you know what? That looks like it'd be simple enough if you needed to maybe adjust your depth a little bit. Like you probably could slide that pretty easy and then just re-cinch it back up if you know, hey, if 18 inches wasn't working for you and you needed to go to that 2 foot mark.
Yeah.
You know, you could probably do that pretty quickly.
And you could, and the nice deal about this is you can just undo it, pull your hook off if you want to. Depends on how you store your rods. You can pull the hook off really easy. So it's just a simple process. And this loop, just a little loop knot here on all of them. This cinches down. It's no trick knots or anything like that. You just put this guy through the diver. This is what the majority of people use here, these size divers. Like I said, I like the bigger ones. They less line to achieve a depth.
Yeah, there you go.
Here's the setup here. This isn't really important here, like today. I mean, these fish will be, let's say the water is going to be 40 foot deep. They'll be from 20 foot down on the bottom. So really, in theory, a couple inches here is not going to make that much of a difference, especially when you have an angle like this, what you're pulling it through the water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so now you were telling me something about the reason that you switched to the divers over the weights was that when you would let the rod down a little bit, you'd have all that weight that might pull your barb, your treble hook back out of the fish, and you were, losing fish that way.
Yeah, with the 3 pounds, you get a customer on there and they just drop the rod tip a little bit, give it a little bit of slack. That 3 pounds of weight will pull it out of there. With these divers, they just weigh, a few ounces. We don't lose very many fish at all.
That's great.
It makes it. We use a barbless hook as well. No barbs in the state of Oklahoma. Have to be barbless. That way we get the catch and release.
Less damage on the fish.
Absolutely.
Removing the hook.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, that's great. Well, guys, stay tuned. We're going to get out on the water and we're going to try to catch some of these spoonbills with Billy here.
That's actually a pretty good one.
It seems like it, man.
Oklahoma marlin right there.
Whoa, that's a good keeper, isn't it?
So Hey, you just tell me what you need me to do, sir.
He said, I am the net. Go, guys. Look at that. Woo! Look at that, ladies and gentlemen.
That was a fight, gentlemen. You were in for it.
Look at this, guys. Look at the size of this fish.
Stay neutral? Yeah. Stay neutral.
Okay. Gotcha.
Look at the size of that, fellas.
Little bitty beady eyes. They're rostrums. They got little sensors on their top of their rostrums that they use to find the food. They say it also helps keep them level in the water.
How big do you think that one is?
That's close to 50, that's 50 pounds. Yeah.
A 50 pounder.
Yeah, man.
Good job. Hold that back a little.
So anything you watch out for?
No teeth, no bones.
No crappie. No crappie on that brush pile.
Side spoonbill on these
Yeah,
fellas?
we'll catch some blue cats. I don't catch anything big. Never have, to be honest with you. Catch some good sized flatheads, 30, 40 pound flatheads once in a while. Doesn't happen very often. We keep the flathead because they're a non-game fish in Oklahoma, but we can't keep the blues in channels. We can't fish. It's got to release.
You can't keep a blue here?
No. Snack rig.
Oh, when you're snagging, I got you. So why will they let you keep the flathead?
It's a non-game fish in Oklahoma where the blue in the channel is a game fish.
Okay, all right, that's interesting. Whoa.
The river wraps this way.
Not gonna lie, y'all. My lower end just puckered a little bit on that wave, man.
Right there, just about a quarter turn.
So these are these dipsy divers that he's talking about, y'all. And so what they do is they bring our line down, and if they hit the bottom or if a fish snags on, it releases this little latch right here, which then keeps, it releases this from doing its diving action, and it makes it a lot easier to reel everything back up. Oh shit! Sorry, y'all, but it's rough out here, baby. The game is real, man. You know.
Just separate the men from the boys.
That's it, baby. That's it.
Or the dumb and the dumber.
I got 50-pound fish there. I'm not feeling too dumb.
So, you guys out there, we're following this river channel in this lake because these paddlefish are filter feeders. So they thrive in the current. They want to just be able to open that big old mouth of theirs and just filter through. They've got actually a really sophisticated gill system to do this, which is impressive, being that these fish, barely have changed in 50 million years. So definitely a really, really cool fish.
Did we talk about the limit any? 2 fish.
Oh.
You're allowed to keep 1 fish in a day, 2 per year. We can catch and release as many as we want, but only 1 fish in a day and 2 total for the year.
And once you keep that fish, you can't keep fishing. Well, I don't know if you guys know that. I'm already done for the day. 30 minutes in.
Just like Mark, man. 30 seconds in, 30 seconds out.
Something's going on
Now,
there.
Billy, is there a size limit on these?
No size limit, no problem.
Just a harvest limit, a bag limit,
Exactly, yeah.
a daily limit, and an annual limit.
Yeah. You just see one you want. If that's the one you want, you keep it.
That one was talking to me. So we gotta try those eggs.
Is there a closed season, an open season? Is this 365 days a year?
Year round, yeah.
Year round.
Season. Generally, people fish for them all starting about October and fish for them up until the end of April, 1st of May, depending on temperature, water flow, to where they're at in the spawn. You know, once they return back to the lake after they spawn, I don't mess with them till about October, November again.
Okay.
But people do fish for them in the summertime. You can catch them in the summer as well.
So what do you go after when you're not paddle fishing?
Hybrid striper, bow fishing this year, white bass, and then just personally like crappie fishing.
Well, I definitely want to. I would love to get out here and do some bow fishing with you. That was a big thing we used to do back in Texas, man. Bowing them big alligator gar. Trying to do my part here, folks.
So had you guys caught that one, do you kept it or do you kept going?
I don't know.
It's a hard call, man.
It is a tough call. When you catch a 50, it's tough to throw a 50-pound fish back.
You know, since this being my first time actually having a real chance to catch one of these, I'd probably take it home, but the next one I'd probably let go. Yeah, we got to get something on the plate.
Yeah.
It's on the plate.
There you go.
Oh, fish on, go Zing, go Zing. Fish on, fish on. Uh-oh. Zinger got him one. He got him one. Mark, hold this. I'm going to get this other one reeled up. All right. Yep, come on down.
Give you some leverage. Almost make you feel like we're fishing in the ocean. All right. Alright. I'm just keeping pressure on it right now. Okay.
How's it feeling, Zing?
Hey, it's fun. I'll be back. When it's a little bit warmer. I really was wondering if Jeff was gonna cancel this one.
I would have came with you anyway. I need Jeff.
Hey, Zing.
Yeah.
I'm a cat fisherman, not a crappie fisherman. We don't cancel because of cold weather around here, man.
Oh, you're about to get wet, Jeff?
Come on, Zing.
Woo!
How's it feel? Feel like you got a big one?
I got 25 back on him. Feels like that damn tuna I caught in Port Aransas.
Oh, yeah, right. Intercoastal for the reds and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
We need to go down there, man.
That'd be awesome.
I got a buddy that's got a beach house right down there, man, that we can go set up.
Oh, wow. How far out, Zing?
130.
Yeah, he's on top already.
Oh yeah, we're
Let's
starting
see
to
it.
see him up top. I see belly.
But this time of year, boy, with that water temperature, you know, what is it?
It's just like a barn door, isn't it?
Woo!
Yeah, that'll get you.
Feels like dragging a bull
Yep.
over the fence.
Looks like another nice one.
Then it may not be a bad idea for maybe 3 up, 3 down. You know what I mean? As rough as it's getting, not to, you know what I'm saying? Might consider, you know, keeping. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I want you guys to have a good time too. But you know what I mean? It is getting.
Yeah.
We got all year. This is the beginning of the year.
Yeah. We need more footage to come back, and you know, we'll try again. I'm just kind of hesitant about keeping them in reverse with the waves.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah. That's a big fish thing.
But with that said, if you don't want it, we'll keep going. Just you know.
No, I'm all for it.
I know, I got my fish. I'm ready to go home.
It's a different trip. I was talking about, you know what I mean?
What a header.
Get them things
Oh,
coming in.
Watch out.
Uh-oh. Woo! That's so wet.
I got the waterproof here. Don't
Yeah.
worry.
Running this show. How we looking, Zing? Getting close?
He's getting close.
Yeah.
He's about,
We'll give Billy some room.
yeah, come on up, Billy.
No, not yet.
Oh, that's
He
nice.
said land your own fish.
Yeah, right. All right, I'm gonna put it.
There's your own fish.
Zing, I'm gonna turn it around.
You gonna break left or right?
Now I'm gonna go straight. So it
It's a nice one, Zane. I don't know if it beats mine, but it's a nice one.
sorry, I'm
Oh, that's fine.
Oh man, my hand is freezing from pulling this thing. Here, I got the gloves on. Here, you want to take over?
There he is right here.
Yeah, hold on. I'm gonna get the point up.
Woo. Look at that. That's a determined face right there, y'all. Look at him. Putting in work, son. Putting in work.
Right here.
They are a filter feeder, so they like to be in these river channels in the lake because of the current that flows through them. So they can get in that current and open their mouth, and they've got a really complex gill system that filters out little crustaceans and vegetation and whatnot, and that's what they eat.
Yeah, zooplankton as well.
Yeah, you're only allowed one fish a day.
There you go.
Oh, fish on, fish on.
You jump in.
Coming.
Yeah, this is a crazy fishery, man. That might be a bigger one, Hefe.
Yeah.
How's it feel, Jeff?
Oh, this one's got a little more power on her, baby.
Oh, yeah?
More power than that tree stump.
It better not be another stump like last time.
Yeah. Hey, I'm cleaning the lakes one stump at a time, man.
Oh, the floater tree that we caught.
Was it?
Pulled it up and had a crappie on it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna kick it
Oh
off.
man, that was a nice one.
I'm gonna put it in reverse, Jeff, just to make it a little.
Yep.
Make a little pressure off. You feel the fish fighting. Well, the wind's died down a little bit. It was pretty crazy out
Yeah,
here.
it's not bad right now, man.
So this thing peeled out about 230 feet of line.
Ooh.
So we're almost a football field away.
If you're 230, it's the same as I was when I started.
We're putting out about 80 foot of line, so yeah, it pulled out some.
100 plus?
Yeah. 150, I guess. Yeah.
Look at how cold it is, guys. Look at my reel icing up as I'm pulling in. It's chilly out here, boys.
We got the 8-foot meat hunters and 10 warfare reels with the line counter. They work really well for this. Meat hunter makes a real stout rod. It's a 2-piece, and man, I've never had any issues with it being 2-piece. Yeah, they work great.
It looks like good rods. Man,
They
worked
work,
great
yeah.
while I had it.
Yeah.
Now, what kind of reel do you have on there?
It's a pin warfare with the line counter.
Okay.
And they make a squall, which is a real nice looking reel, but shoot, I haven't had any issues out of these, and these were, they've probably caught,
There she is. She's popping.
I would guess 250 spoonbill a piece. You know, if we broke it down, probably 300 actually, now that we know.
I just swallow over in Florida.
That's a good one.
Yeah, squalls are a good one.
She looks nice.
Like their next one down, but they got the same guts from what I read.
That's why they do that. Same guts.
Yeah.
So long, Jim.
Water temperature's about 41 degrees. These fish are, there you go. They'll give you some fight, but they don't have a lot of
Energy.
stamina. Yeah.
Now, are they harder fighters in the summer?
Oh man, 60-degree water, totally different fish.
Wow.
Yeah, that's where they get the Oklahoma marlin. They're coming out of the water. tail
Really?
mixing.
Oh,
Do they ever jump?
Oh yeah, they'll come out. Oh man,
That's cool, man.
It's a lot of fun.
This one saw the boats, and I'm going back.
Yeah, about time they touch the boat. I'm gonna put it in reverse here for just to take some pressure off. I'll keep it.
Oh, that's a nice one, Jeff. That's on the 50-pound mark.
That'll be a good keeper.
Oh, he woke up. She woke up, I should say.
I'm gonna get him until he's in the boat, and then we'll tag him in a minute. We're getting a little bit closer.
That's a nice one, man. There you go, Jeff. Whoa! That's icy water right there. Right in the stomach. Loose. There you go, man.
Yeah.
how's that feel?
Yeah.
Big fish killing, son.
Oh, man, that's a big
Let me
one.
get by us. Hold that one. Let me get it out of the way.
That's a big one. That's probably bigger than mine, man.
Look at that, guys. That's probably a
What do you think, Billy? Probably about a 40 pounder?
Yeah, 40, 45 maybe. I'll have to look at it.
That's the ideal keeping size there.
Yeah, male or female, can you tell?
Yeah, let me see what we got here. I'm gonna take the female from that gut.
And so, guys, this fish is
Yeah, I would say the
also.
female doesn't have a lot of protruding white spots on its back. Yeah, that's gonna be a female.
And
Good ribs. Oh, it's a nice one, Jeff.
I don't feel the cold yet. Hopefully it ain't another tag. Lift that rod up, go. If you can't feel it at all. I mean, we're in 50 foot of water. It ain't sure ain't on the bottom, but it might have picked up something.
Some debris.
Jeff.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not feeling it.
Hey, you can be 2 for 2 on sticks today.
hey, somebody's got to do it, man.
Somebody's got to do it, huh?
There's no one that can do it. Oh, that's such a ball. My dad's.
Normally you can see him up a little bit, about 50 yards out, huh?
How many feet you got, Jeff?
It says 10.
Okay.
The stick master.
Yeah, just keep on reeling on when you do it. It's only 10 foot though. That should be there. Try to keep them that way though, Jeff. There you go.
Not bad.
Jeff, kick the release on that.
There you go, Hefe.
Get that.
Good job, Captain.
Tell me when. Alright.
Holy crap, that's a nice one. Might beat me, see?
Oh, look at that, y'all.
Keep it straight.
Yeah, let me get it.
Another big old piggy. Look at that, guys. Woo! Man.
I'm gonna pull it down here a little bit, see?
Okay.
Get it off them rocks and everything.
Look at that.
Yeah, good fish, man. Yeah, man.
You know, I'll be all for getting the line down and taking a picture of back at the rep.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. Alright, let's get our third fish and get our third fish and go home and drink some beer.
And I'll tell you, I got caught out on Keystone. Remember the vermin of this year?
Yeah.
And this eventually has little lakes here.
Hey, well, guys, I got to tell y'all, man, when it comes to a guide, old Billy Genay here don't play around, man. I mean, we've only been out here a few minutes, and we already got 2 out of the 3 we need, and both of them really nice fish. So y'all make sure you go and check out Billy's guide services, okay? And book your trips with him because he is going to get you on the fish, son.